and there's our answer. Okay, it's the exact same answer as we got when we used the FOIL method. It's just another method of doing the same thing that comes in handy. Okay, so let's look at one like x plus 3 cubed. That means x plus 3 One of the things about multiplication is you can only multiply two things at a time. So we're going to use the FOIL method and multiply those together, and then that answer will multiply times that. Alright, so FOIL first means the first numbers in each one. X times x is x squared. Outside means it means this one and this one, the two outside ones. And then the inside means this one and this one, which is also going to give me 3x. And then last would be this one and this one, the two last numbers. And let's combine like terms. Alright, so what I got is when I multiplied these two together, I got this. Now I have to take this answer and multiply it by that. Okay, and this is when this vertical method comes in handy. Then because I can multiply those two together and get plus 27. Let's get rid of my circle. Plus 27. Then I can multiply these two and get plus 18x. Then I can multiply these two and get 3x squared. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this times this. And I'm going to get 9x. Notice there where I put it. Doesn't really matter where you put it, but it helps when you put it under the other common term. Then I'm going to multiply this, and I get 6x squared. Then I'm going to multiply this and get x cubed. So when I bring all this together, I get that for an answer. So that is the answer I get when I take x plus 3 times x plus 3 times x plus 3. Alright, so this next example is solving by factoring. And we're going to use the zero factor theorem, which says that if we have a set of numbers and variables, we can move everything to one side and we have a 0 on the other side. So if we subtract 6 from both sides, by subtracting 6 there, that gives us this 0 right there. And we're going to put this in the right order because you want to always put it in the order according to exponents. And we get that. Alright, so remember factoring trinomials. We have two parentheses, and the x and the x. We find two numbers multiplied together that give me 6, added together that give me a 1, which is what's in front of there. And in this case, it's going to be a 3 and a 2, because 3 times 2 is 6, and the difference between 3 and 2 is 1, but I need to get a negative 6 when I multiply and a negative 1 when I add. So if I do this, negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. So that ends up being my factored. And now the question is, what's my answer? Well, this has to equal 0, or this has to equal 0 in order for me to multiply the other one times 0 to get 0. So the only way I'm going to get 0 for an answer when I'm multiplying two numbers is if one of the sets of numbers is 0. So either this one has to be 0 or this one has to be 0. So we're going to solve for both of them. So x is going to be 3, or x equals negative 2. So those are my answers for x. So there's two possible answers. And one of the things that's going to help you to realize that there's two answers is what is the highest exponent up here? 2. And that will tell you how many answers you're going to end up getting. All right, let's look at one more example, and then we will be done with this lesson. So 38.3, negative 35x equals negative 2x squared minus x cubed. So let's go ahead and put these all on the one side. So let's take this, add 35x here. So I have 0 equals negative 2x squared minus x cubed plus 35x. Alright, I'm going to take those and move those over here, like that. And I'm going to set it equal to 0 just because I like to have my 0 on the right. Alright, now I'm going to put them in the correct order. My exponents in the order highest to lowest. Now I'm going to take this and factor it. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little trick here. Notice that I have a negative in front of here. I don't like to have a negative in front of here, so I'm going to make it into a positive, and that works. You can change the sign of anything you want in here as long as you change every stinking sign. So I can make that a positive, but I have to make that a positive, and I have to make that a negative. And as long as I change all of the signs, then I'm okay. And there is a theory behind that that allows you to do that, and it's basically saying that we're going to divide, well, let me show you, we're going to divide this whole thing by negative 1 and this by negative 1. And so then a negative over a negative is a positive over a negative is a positive over a negative is a negative, and that's still going to be 0. So that's in theory how it all works, but you don't need to do all that. Just change all the signs as long as you've set it equal to 0, and you'll be okay. Alright, so now I'm going to look at this one right here in yellow and look and see if what I have common that I can factor out. Well, I have an x in every one of those. So I took an x out of there, and that gives me that. Now I have a trinomial, and I can try to factor it down into two binomials by putting an x there and an x there. Finding two numbers multiplied together give me 35, added together give me a 2. Okay, so what we've got is a 5 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35, and the difference between 5 and 7 is 2, but we need to make sure we put the right sign on there. So negative 5 times positive 7 is negative 35. Negative 5 plus 7 is a positive 2, so those are the correct ones. Now, again, if you look up here, what is the highest exponent? A 3. That means I'm going to have 3 answers. Okay, I'm going to have an answer for this one that's going to be x is 5, because whatever makes that 0. This one is going to be a negative 7, because it's whatever makes that 0. And then how do I make that